Hey, this is Mike. Thank you so much for choosing this video. Today I'm checking out a 2022 Toyota RAV4 in the TRD off-road trim level. It also has upgrades. This vehicle is sitting on 225/60 Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tires wrapped around 18-inch alloy wheels with a matte black finish. It also has four-wheel disc brakes with ventilated rotors in the front and solid rotors in the back. This vehicle has been upgraded with the white roof and like a baby blue color. Now some of the RAV4s you can get with a black roof, so this one has the white roof. So here in the front, the grille is a matte black. The very bottom of the front though has this metallic gray paint right in here for some reason. Now it does have parking sensors across the front, so there's some integrated parking sensor here and here in the grille as well. Now this one does not have the 360 surround view camera system, but it does have the adaptive cruise control system, and the sensor is the badge as well. So the badge right here is also a sensor for the adaptive cruise control. Now the headlights, they are a LED projector headlight system, and it's one single projector tube, and it just refocuses for the high and low beams. I have a night video you can check out, see what it looks like going down the road. And there's also an LED strip right above it. Turn signals are standard bulbs here in the front and back. Then there's LED reflector fog lights, kind of more in the center of the vehicle. Could be a little bit lower, but they seem to work well. Looking at the profile here, that metallic gray color that we saw there in the front center does not carry around the wheel wells. This is all a matte black, and there's a curious little space here and here. The intention usually for this black plastic is to protect the vehicle's paint from road debris, but for some reason they have this little spot here for road debris to sling up on. I'm not sure what that is, just styling or what's going on there. It does have body color handles, and upper portion of the side mirror is a gloss black, which is one of the few gloss blacks that you find on the vehicle. And of course the white roof with a matte black roof rail. This is what the key looks like, and it's a full proximity key, and the key's fairly light and contoured, so it's easy to carry around with you. It's not really a big deal. But it has buttons on here, lock, unlock, the ability to open up the power liftgate, and a panic button. But it also has remote start, so you'd press the lock button, 1, 2, and then hold it on the third press. And you hold it for a second, or more than 1 second. It takes a few seconds. Now it'll start. So go ahead and start the vehicle. But the problem I have, which makes no sense to me, is that when you open the vehicle, it turns off the engine. So now you have to get in and restart it. And I was probably going to make a separate video about that, because the argument I get is that it's a safety feature so nobody steals your vehicle, but they have to have the key either way. So it doesn't make any sense to, whether the engine's running or not, they can't drive away with the vehicle without the key. You have to have the key in order to drive the vehicle. And all other manufacturers seem to know that, except for Toyota and Lexus. So I'm not sure, it's just a poorly designed system in my opinion, and it kind of defeats the purpose in some ways of the remote start by doing that. It's just an added frustration. But as long as you have the key with you, you can open up the doors by putting your hand behind the handle. So there's two sensors, one back here and one here. This one is to lock the door, so there's two little lines indicating where the sensor is. So you can put your hand over it, your finger, whatever, and as long as the key's on the outside of the door, whether it be on the front driver or passenger sides has a sensor, you can lock the door. To unlock it, you simply put your hand behind the handle. It senses your hand and the key on the outside of the door. So the proximity system knows where the key is, whether it's outside, inside, that kind of thing. That's part of the reason why it makes no sense to have the engine turn off when you open the door. But, so yeah, so you can use the vehicle 100% without taking the key out of your pocket. Now, if you needed a physical key, there is a physical key on the inside of this key fob. There is a physical key location here on the driver's side only. The doors go all the way down to the bottom of the vehicle here. So when you see, when I open it up, it covers up the entire threshold area. And there's actually a seal down here as well. So the intention is, if you're doing some, dirty road or whatever, off-roading or whatever, it tries to keep this area a little bit cleaner. So that way, if you're entering and exiting the vehicle, you don't, slide your clothes against a big muddy spot there unintentionally. So it kind of keeps that area cleaner, is what the intention is. Here's the inside of the passenger door, and there's some soft touch surfaces here across the top, as well as here, and it's kind of like a vinyl type material with a simulated leather texturing, but it's not super soft. Bottoms out quickly, but it is a soft touch surface. And then the rest of the door is hard touch, all in here. So there's a speaker grill with what looks like a Walmart type symbol on it. And this handle area right in here, this is a rubberized interior of the handle, which is pretty neat. And it passes through. And then there's a bottle holder and just like a storage pocket there in the bottom. But you notice this area right here is, just open space. That kind of helps out with your knee room and stuff. Okay, so you can see there's the threshold area, and then manually adjusted seats here on the passenger side. And these are heated and cooled soft tech seats. And there's some perforations there in the center. And they're pretty interesting. They have the heated portions in the bottom and the back, and they get quite warm. And these are really nice seats. They're very impressive looking, and also they're pretty comfortable. So a lot of people choose this trim just basically for the seats. You see the TRD is embroidered in the headrest there. Plenty of legroom here in the front. It also has these TRD floor mats as well. They're kind of slippery though. They're kind of like intended to be rubber, but they're kind of like a plasticky rubber, so they kind of slippery. Your kind of feet kind of slip around on them. Same thing with the cargo mat. I'll show you that in a few minutes. There's a locking glove compartment, and pretty standard size, smooth plastic on the inside. And you'll notice the stitching going on. So there's stitching, the red stitching here, red stitching on the seat here, there's red stitching on the door right there. So that's kind of like a theme throughout the vehicle, black and red. There's a little metallic accent there, and there's I really like this pocket. The idea of this pocket, there's a nice shelf here, and there's a small portion on the other side of the steering wheel as well, so where you can just get in the vehicle and just kind of put something down, and to where it's right in front of you. You're not going to forget about it, but it's it's just a quick, easy place to put something down, but it's not put away like in the glove compartment where you're going to forget about it or something like that. So this is soft touch. Dash is kind of rubbery, soft touch, that kind of thing. So the opening here on the front is pretty good. I mean, there's lots of, headroom here and then leg room. And it's not too far off the ground. It's like a really easy to get in and out of type vehicle. As far as the height off the ground and the position of the seat, the opening here in the front is fine. The only issue I have is that the swing of the door seems to be just a tad bit not swung out enough. It's just a little. It just kind of feels like you just want to push it a little bit further here in the front, especially here in the back. So because the door area, since it has this little space right in here, I mean the headroom and everything as far as getting in and out is fine here in the back, but since you have this little space right in here kind of limiting this area, this space right in here, the swing of the door seems to kind of get in the way. So if it just kind of went out just a little bit further, same thing with the front, I think it'd just be a little bit better and easier to get in and out of the vehicle, and just more pleasurable, kind of hopping in and out of the vehicle. The inside of the back door has that same stitching there at the top, and soft touch kind of vinyl type material here all the way around here, just like the front. It's very similar styling, hard touch at the bottom, and then a smaller pocket at the bottom, but you know, very similar styling as the front. The back seat is basically like a bench seat. It does have some contours, slight contours there, and there's an armrest with cup holders. You can utilize the center part if you need a center passenger by flipping that up. The latch system is easy to access right here. There's no covers or anything for that. There is a pocket here on the passenger, but not the driver, back of the driver's seat, just the passenger. It's a big pocket there. There is climate control vents back here and 2 USB charge ports. And you got to check out my night video because there's some few things in here that needs some improvement. And spoiler, I'll tell you that there's no light in the glove compartment, and there's no illumination here for these charge ports. And there's plenty of other things as well. So you could go over that in the night video. So there's the legroom there. And the floorboard and the seat position's pretty decent, as far as not, you know, having your knees sticking up in the air. Also, there's a hump in the middle that's not very tall, and it's also flat on top. So you can kind of like, you know, put your feet on top of it if you're a center passenger and you're not, if you're, you know, not super short or anything, and you need to use the center seat for whatever reason. That kind of makes it a little bit easier when it's flat on the top of that hump there. These seats do fold down. When you fold them down, you can see they're not completely level, but they do happen to add to the cargo space quite a bit. And they're not super, like, they're not too much unlevel. You could potentially maybe, you know, lay down back here if you're not super tall or whatever. So if you want to take this on a camping trip or whatever, that's a possibility anyway. And I'll give you the measurements when we get to the cargo area. It's a 60-40 split, you know, seat. You can fold them down a 60-40 split. So if you need passenger space and cargo space at the same time, you can do that. Taking a look at the back of the vehicle. So there at the top is the white roof. It also has a matching white little shark fin antenna right here. And of course, those roof rails are a matte black. Now there's a third brake light right here, LED, there in the back of the spoiler. And then there's a rear wiper. There's a little bit more gloss black. So this is the only other gloss black you'll find, is right here, matching the side mirrors there. So that kind of like a little bit of a match. And the tail lights are a combination of LED and standard bulbs. So they look pretty cool at nighttime though. You can check out my night video. The backup camera is hilariously offset. It's over here. Now, the reason why I say it's funny, because for one thing, this vehicle, they redesigned this vehicle in 2019, so they could have easily have integrated this a little bit better. And that was my first reaction, like, why did they not do that? Because I was expecting it, but they've just kind of like put it in this position where it looks completely tacked on, and the functionality is not all that great. Because of the position of it, because it's not in the center and it's not integrated in a higher position, it has to be stretched out view, and it's stretched out in the way that's not even that great. What it does is it gives you the view of the tag, like most of not most, but a good portion of the screen is looking at the tag. So it's just not really ideal. It could be better for sure. So you have blacked out badgings here. TRD off-road is blacked out, and the RAV4 is blacked out. There's parking sensors across the back as well, and it's right in here. You can see them kind of integrated here in the bumper. These are not lights, those are reflectors. And then there's more of that gloss gray paint back here that matches the front. And then it has obvious dual exhaust tips back here. And they're intended to be obvious, you know, it's part of the style. So opening up the power liftgate, you can of course use the key with the button I showed you, or you can push this button under here. So there's two buttons. One is more kind of like right underneath the badge, and the other one is a little bit to the right. The one on the right locks the door, and this one opens the door. Now right in here, you can see it better now, there's a camera right here. And that's for the rear view camera system. So, you know, typically there's a rear view mirror. Well, this has a rear view mirror that also serves as a rear view camera, and it utilizes that, that right there. Now, you'll notice that it's right below the brake light. So when you hit the brakes, it shines a bright light and kind of drowns out the rear view camera a little bit. So, you know, that could be a little bit better as well. And also it's in a position where you're gonna make sure that that glass is clean all the time in order to use it. And it's in a place where it kind of gets a lot dusty and dirty and stuff like that. Now this cargo area, if you have all the passengers occupied, you know, the seats are occupied with passengers, then your cargo area is still pretty good. Plenty of room back here, and there's a single light, which I'll show you what the deal is at nighttime. And then there's a power inverter, a 2-prong power inverter here, and it's only 100 watts, so you're not going to be, you know, powering anything substantial. Maybe charge a laptop or something. And then there's a 12-volt power supply. There's a little storage cubby here on the right side with a net pocket, which the net pocket can be easily removed. There's tie downs on the 4 corners, there and there. You can see there. Now there's also a shade here, and the shade kind of covers everything up, keeps people from looking in, and also the sun from shining on your stuff. It's also removable, and you can actually store it underneath the floor here. So under this floor, there is a spare tire and tools. The load floor can be raised or lowered slightly, just like a few inches, and kind of, you know, gives you a little bit of functionality there. And then of course you can fold these seats down, 60-40 split, fold down one or the other, add to your cargo space while still maintaining passenger space, or you can fold them both down and really get a large area here, even potentially laying down and sleeping back here. To lower the power lift gate, you just push this button that's not backlit, so you have to feel for it at night, and it'll come back down. Kind of giving too many spoilers for the night video, but there's a lot to know about this vehicle at night. It's really important to watch that video, I think, if if that's a concern for you, nighttime driving and using the vehicle. It has a locking fuel door, and the fuel door is here on the driver's side, and it has a traditional cap, tether, and a little place to hang the cap here on the inside of the door. In order to start it up, as long as you have the key inside the vehicle, it could be in your pocket, in a bag, as long as it's inside the vehicle, you just put your foot on the brake, hold it, and push this button. And the button is conveniently hidden behind the steering wheel, so it's right back here, right there. So you kind of have to look for it if you don't know exactly where to go. Here's the floorboard in front of the driver's seat. Now you notice that on this side, the floor mat hooks in place so it doesn't slide around on you. There's the accelerator, brake pedal, and a really nice big footrest there on the left side. And you'll notice the accelerator pedal pivots at the bottom. Let's take a look under the hood. Before we look under the hood, I just want to, before I forget, there's a little heater underneath these windshield wipers, and I'll show you where the button is, and this really helps out to release those windshield wipers when they're frozen solid. There's lots of times where I wish I had a vehicle like that. But anyways, to raise the hood, there's a little latch right here, and basically there's a center line right in this area. It's reach in and move it to the left, and you can lift up the hood. And the hood's not that heavy, so it's not a big deal, but it does require a prop to hold it up. The prop is on the underside of the hood, and it swings down to that arrow. Under the hood has a little bit of insulation. And there's a seal across the front and the back, and a little bit there on the sides. Helps with airflow and also noise control. And this one is relatively quiet. This is one of the higher trims, so it's a little bit quieter. The lower trims are very loud, actually, driving them around. The Prius, not the Prius, the RAV4 Prime is probably one of the best trim models as far as, you know, being quiet, because you can of course ride on the electric part. So this one has a like this foam, real dense foam cover there on the top of the engine, and it's a 4-cylinder engine. You can see it's headed this way right here, even though it's an all-wheel drive vehicle. Now it's an all-wheel drive vehicle with torque vectoring in the back. It's actually, you know, it's not the brake, it's not braking. It actually has a clutch system in the back to where it can deliver more power from one side to the other, which is pretty cool. It's not like a super off-road vehicle though, unfortunately. From what I can tell, it seems like this vehicle is not, if you're intending to go on some serious off-roading, this is not the best vehicle for that. But that does have some insulation there on the firewall. There's also a bar right here. You can see it right in this area, and it attaches here to these shock tower, and it goes all the way across and attaches the top of that one to the top of this one, kind of solidifying the front end and help with stability, its overall structure stability, but cornering and all that stuff kind of gives it that, you know, solid feel and, you know, durability. There's the battery, and the battery is easy to get to. It's not insulated or anything, but it's right there, easy to get to. So the exhaust is out the back, and the intake's there in the front, and there's no like turbos or anything like that. There is and the transmission is located here, so it's, you know, oriented like a front-wheel drive vehicle. The blind spot and rear cross traffic alert indicators are right here on the side mirrors. So they're integrated there, and they'll illuminate when there's a vehicle in your blind spot, or if there's a vehicle coming from either way when you're backing out of a parking space. The inside of the driver's side door is just like the passenger side, except for it has a few more buttons. So they do have some indicator lights for these power windows. There's the door lock there. The power windows are one touch up and down, and they work quite well, nice and fast. The back ones, same thing, one touch. It goes all the way down, so unlike some vehicles. There's door lock controls, and then the side mirrors are adjusted here. You just pick a side and adjust it with that little pad. The driver's seat, unlike the passenger seat, the driver's seat is powered, so you can go up and down, tilt, all that stuff. Tilt the back, and then you have a two-way lumbar adjustment as well. To the left of the steering column, there is a little pocket similar to the other side right in here. Nice convenient little pocket. And then there's a dimmer switch for the interior gauges. Automatic high beams, you can turn those on or off here. I suggest you be very careful with these because they don't work very well in this vehicle, so I tend to blind people with that feature, so I turn it off. There is the heater for underneath the windshield wipers there in the front, like I showed you. You can turn it off here. Heated steering wheel, and the heated steering wheel only does the edges. It doesn't do the top and bottom, just the sides. And there's the the button to open up the power lift gate. It also has a tilt and a telescoping steering column, and you lock it in place right here. I'm sitting in the driver's seat, and I'm 6 feet tall. I have the driver's seat all the way back, all the way down, to give you the potential leg room here. So you can see on the left side, my knees got a little bit more room than the right, but even this side is not too bad. Now, it does have a hard surface here, so if for whatever reason the way you sit is pressed up against this, it might be a little bit uncomfortable because it's kind of protruding out a little bit, but it's not really a big deal. Just, you know, certain people sit different ways, but it hasn't really been an issue for me. So this is a little bit too far back for me, so I would have to, you know, move it forward just slightly, but it's so if you're like 6'1", 6'2", you probably will be fine driving this vehicle. And the only thing is like these, and it seems like a small deal, but it's a little bit of annoying. is these floor mats are slippery. So when you try to, like, you know, try to grab and dig your heels in, like, reposition yourself, your foot kind of just slides around. So I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's one of those things that not that good. Could be better. All right, so the steering wheel, like I mentioned, this is a heated steering wheel, but it's only on the outer portions here and here. It's not heated on the top and bottom. Not sure why they just excluded that area, but it does have a heated steering wheel. The buttons on the steering wheel, you can see this little part right here on the bottom, here and here. They kind of like are part of the same deal. So there's the volume for the radio, voice recognition for the radio, mode, which is your different audio sources. It kind of cycles through them, and then this is to change through the tracks on the radio, or depends on what you're playing. So it could be change the radio station, it could be changed to the next track on the Bluetooth device, that kind of thing. Now above it, you have these sections here, and on the right, this is the cruise control system. You'd have to turn it on, then you can set it here. You can resume, cancel, change through your speeds once you have it going. And then this is an adaptive cruise control system, and you can set the distance between you and the vehicle in front of you by cycling that button. It'll cycle through the different distances, and you rest on the one that you want. Also, it has the lane keeping system to where the intention is to, you know, keep the steering wheel in the center of the lane. It doesn't really work all that great, but does have that feature. For some reason, I'm not sure what it is, but this one, it's I usually just don't use it. On the left side, this little OK arrows and the back button correspond with the screen between the gauges. We'll get to that in just a minute. And this button is for the, you know, answer calls that come in through your Bluetooth system, or make a call. You push the button, and, you know, it guides you to, you know, say the name of the person that you want to call, that kind of thing, and it'll try to find it in your phone book. So the windshield wiper controls are here on the right side, and that's for your front and the rear. And then here on the left side is the turn signal and the headlight dimmer switch, but also the headlight switch. So you have DRL off, which turns off all the exterior lights, automatic, parking light, and then the headlights. The fog lights are turned on or off here. Now, the problem I have with this particular one, it's kind of minor, but it can be an issue, is that this is not backlit illuminated. So at nighttime, and this is another spoiler for the night video, at nighttime you can't see any of this stuff, you know, without shining an external light on it. So it's really easy to accidentally put it here, and when you put it there in the parking light mode, it looks like the headlights, because the lights that they use is basically the headlights just dimmed a little bit. So you could be driving around and not have the full potential of your headlights if you just put it in that position. So there's, you know, slight difference really between the headlights and the parking lights as far as just sitting in the car looking out the vehicle. So it's real easy to do that. Of course, the automatic, if you just leave it there, that'll solve that problem. But it's like I mentioned, you know, it's a little bit of an issue. This is what the gauges look like, and there's the RPM gauge there on the left, tachometer. On the right side is the fuel gauge there at the top, engine coolant temperature here on the bottom on the right, and then here in the center there's this is basically a screen in the middle, and there's like a digitally represented gauge here for the speedometer, and there's no like digital speedometer, like a number. It doesn't show that. It just shows that needle going up and down, which is kind of strange. But it has the outside temperature, it has different trips, and you can cycle through the trips here. So here's the little button right here. You just push it. There's trip 1, trip A, trip B, and then you have the odometer there. Now, you can reset those independently, of course. So right here in the middle is more information. And remember these buttons here, the OK and the arrows and the back button? That's what we're going to use to cycle through here. So you can see it's showing right now, you know, fuel economy information, and we can reset that. But we can scroll down, and there's two options here, and you'll notice these little icons pop up. So that was the first icon, and it gives us two options going up and down. Scrolling to the right, this would be like the adaptive cruise control, the lane keeping assist, and it just kind of gives you information about that. Even if you scroll up and down, nothing happens. Scrolling to the right, this goes into whatever your radio is doing, and when you go up and down, it's going to, depending on what you're playing, potentially, you know, right now it's not doing anything, you know, change through a track or whatever, or a radio station. Going to the right again, this will be more information about the vehicle. So there's tire pressure, where the all-wheel drive power is going, whether it's going on the front wheels, the back wheels, whatever's going on there, that split left or right there in the back, since it has that clutch system that can divert power to one side or the other. And then it goes back to the original. So there's three options there. Now if you need to go to change the 2 kilometers per hour, you go into the settings there, and then you can change the units here. And then there's more different settings here as well. Scrolling to the right again, stored messages will show here. Scrolling to the right again takes us back to the original icon there at the bottom. Okay, so here's the touch screen over here, and this one is very basic. So we're in the home screen here, and it has a split between, you know, like a drive computer, phone, and then, you know, whatever your radio's doing there. You can go to the menu. It has the plug-in Apple CarPlay and Android Auto capability, so you can plug in your phone if you want to do that. So you have audio, phone, apps. You can add apps here. Projection. Projection is basically the Android Auto, Apple CarPlay capabilities. That's what that is. Information. So you can go to the eco information, find out your fuel economy, range, that kind of stuff. And then your setup will be your different settings on the vehicle. And then you have these physical buttons here on the sides, which give you kind of shortcuts. So like say you have audio here, but you also have it here, you know. Map, this doesn't show anything because the navigation is not installed on this vehicle. And then you can change through your tracks, your phone and your apps. You can see those are just physical buttons of the ones on the screen. And it does have a volume knob, tune through the stations. And the way the knobs are, they have like this rubberized gear type texture, which is really nice. I like that. The way it feels and the way it looks, it just looks and feels quality. And there is a clock here, and you can, you know, adjust the settings here. Here's the 4-way flashers, and then below that is the climate control, and these have the large knobs down here, and they have that same rubberized gear type texture, which is nice. Now the driver and passenger, it's a dual zone climate control. You can sync them both by pushing that button, so that way they're both the same. And it has a nice large readout here as far as what the temperature is. There's your fan speed, where you want the air to blow, recirculate the air. If you want to cut out the back passengers or the back seats and just have all the air, the climate control here in the front, you can do that. Front and rear defrosters, and then it has a eco mode for the heating cool systems, kind of, you know, supposedly use less energy or something, kind of cut back on everything. It does have an automatic function, so you can just kind of set the temperature, put on automatic, and it, you know, it sets the fan speed and also where the air is blowing automatically for you. That's the most convenient way of doing it, really. Traction control off button is here, so you can turn it off. Default will be on, but if you need to spin tires, you can turn that off. This is where you'll find the heated seat and cooled seat. So it's a 3-stage, high, medium, and low for the heated seat. 3-stage for the cooled seat, high, medium, and low, and then off. Same thing for the passenger. So there's the passenger buttons there. This is just a blank spot, nothing there. So under here is a USB charge port. So the USB charge port's here. There's no illumination under here. I'll show you that at nighttime. But there's a 12-volt power supply. There's also a wireless charger here, and it tends to work with my cell phone case on, so it's not really an issue with that. I could just, you know, just throw it in there on top of this pad, and it charges the phone. Now, with the Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, you will need to plug it in. If this was a wireless system, you wouldn't have to plug it in, but you do have to plug it in anyway, so, you know, keep that in mind. If you use that system all the time, you want to, the wireless charge port really kind of like doesn't really help much. Alright, so we've got the electronic parking brake, and it'll actually, you can turn it to where it'll automatically engage the parking brake, and it engages the rear wheels when you stop and put it in park, which I like that feature. There's also automatic brake hold here, and it'll hold the brakes for you. When you have this turned on, it'll hold the brakes for you when you come to a complete stop until you push the accelerator. So like say sitting at a traffic light or whatever, it'll hold the brakes for you. Here's the shifter, and I'll go ahead and put it in reverse. Two things will happen. One is the parking sensors, front and rear, will be active, but also your camera here in the back is also active. So it has these different views here. So it has a super wide view, and it's very distorted and it's hard to get your bearings. You get to see generally what's behind you. It's not super clear, but you get to kind of see what's behind you, so which is good. But as far as the way the sides kind of like, you know, bend around this way, that have this weird weird distortion to them. But you notice there's a good portion, I don't know, maybe 20% of the screen is covered up by the actual vehicle itself, because it has this weird, you know, it's not stretched this way, it's stretched this way to try to get that view or higher up or something, because the camera is so low. So I think that this could have been implemented a little bit better. But it has these two different views, you know, whichever one's better for you. And it does have active guidelines, so as I turn the steering wheel, the guidelines will move to let me know which direction the vehicle is going to go. Alright, and then there's neutral, drive, and if you want to change gears like a ratchet shifter, you can put it over here to the standard mode, and then you can raise and lower the gear ratio. Now, this is handy for like if you need a down gear, if you're going down hills or whatever. But for, you know, like driving like a manual transmission, it's not really intended for that, really. I mean, it's you can do that, but it's really to limit your high gear for the most part. Here's some different drive modes. We have Eco, Normal, Sport, but we also have Rock and Sand here, and Snow. So you can see some of them are buttons to push, and another one is this turn knob here. You also have a downhill descent for off-road use only as well. So this is for normal driving. So Eco, Normal, Sport. So Eco, it kind of lets you know what's going on up here on the screen. So Eco turns the screen green. Normal just kind of goes back to normal. Sport turns it to red, which is pretty neat. And then Snow just kind of adds a little background there. Lets you know you're in snow mode. Downhill descent has a little flashing thing letting you know you really need to be in four-wheel drive, more advanced four-wheel drive system for that, because it's off-road use only. You're not going to be using that all the time. Okay, so when we turn this to mud and rock, so we turn to the right, when we put it in rock mode, you can see that it automatically pops up where the power is going to each wheel. So this is kind of handy because when you're going over rocks, it's going to lift up some wheels potentially. So you're not going to get traction on some, and you're going to get extra traction on others. So that, you know, shifting the power front, rear, and side to side is going to be key, and you want to know where the power is going and all that stuff. So the mud and sand, is when I turn it over there, it allows me to you know, to kind of like spin wheels and stuff. So it's like a different, it changes the dynamic of the vehicle quite a bit as far as the off-roading system when you start using these features. So you don't want to use the rock or the mud and or anything during normal driving. To put it back in normal, you just push this right there and it'll go back to normal. You'll notice that it changes this right here. And you push it to normal, kind of changes the colors there. Okay, so these cup holders, they're quite deep, and they have little things to kind of help out with different size cups as well, which is good. So if you put a bottle in there, it's not going to wobble as much. But you notice it has this like extra space here. So the only thing I could think of, it's a little bit, unless you ever, like this is a large cup, and when you put it in there, it goes all the way in. So small cups is a little bit of a pain to get in and out. But the only thing I could think of is if you're doing any kind of like off-roading or anything, and you had some, some kind of cup in here, if it kind of keeps it contained for sure in this area. That's the only thing I could think of. All right, so here's the armrest. There's like this little dividing line, and kind of rubbery soft, which is nice. Doesn't bottom out easily. So that property line there is for driver and passenger, so you don't have to fight over the armrest so much. It's big enough, I guess you can share it if you feel like it. And it lifts up, and it's kind of spring loaded so it doesn't flop back down on you. It goes up right there. And it has this storage compartment with 2 backlit, which is interesting, USB charge ports. And the reason why I say it's interesting is because the actual compartment itself is completely dark. There's no light in it. And the charge ports in the back for the second row seat are not backlit. The one here is not backlit. So I guess they throw you a little bone there and just like, well, we'll give you some backlit stuff. So here it is here. So anyways, you can check out my night videos and see what I'm talking about. The rearview mirror is also a rearview camera. So remember that camera I showed you in the back glass? That's what it does. It gives you this direct view behind the vehicle. So if you can see quite a bit of a difference. This you see mostly inside the vehicle when you look in this mirror. And then when you switch to the camera, you see everything outside behind the vehicle. So this is it's a handy feature to have. So, I think this is what most vehicles are going to have, this combination. It definitely want to have the ability to go to a regular mirror though. But it has the HomeLink garage door opener controls here. It also has settings for this camera system, so you can kind of cycle through brightness and change the position of it, that kind of thing. Even change the language. And then there's little adjustment buttons here, so you can adjust, like say, the up and down, that kind of thing. So pretty handy. Right here is a place to put your sunglasses or safety glasses or whatever you want there. It has lights for the driver and the passenger. You can turn on all the interior lights by pushing that button and have them turn on with the door by having that pressed in. This and this is for the sunroof. You also have a roadside assistance button here, which is covered up with a little cover there, so you don't accidentally call the roadside assistance by pushing that button. The visor has like a vinyl exterior cover on the outside. There's a mirror for the light, turns on. There's also the way this is designed, it doesn't slide out like some of them do. I think it's a little bit better is because it actually has this part that slides out and it adds to your coverage instead of just shifting your coverage. Same thing there on the passenger side. So the sunroof has a shade that covers 100% of the light. So if you don't want any light coming in, this is perfect. So you can slide it back, and then there's these 2 buttons here. So the one is to slide it back, the glass back, one is to tilt the glass up. So we can tilt it up using this button, tilt it down using the same button, opening it with the other button, push the button again, and it goes a little bit further back. And then we can move it forward. And of course, we can close the shade. Looking at the visibility, you can see that those pillars back there are quite substantial. So they do block your view quite a bit when you're just kind of looking over your shoulder. And that glass back there is quite small. So having that rear view camera system really helps out. Also, the rear cross traffic alert, blind spot detection system, parking sensors, backup camera, all that stuff helps out. But you know, just normal driving, those pillars, you know, can be an obstacle. Now, of course, it depends on your rear passengers and all that stuff. You know, it's always going to be an issue as far as that goes. It's not the fastest car in the world. It's not the slowest car in the world. It's not the quietest. It's not the most off-road capable. But as far as cruising around town on, you know, on the road and having a little bit of, you know, severe weather capability on the road with the all-wheel drive system, and it's a little bit, I would say, above average as far as the all-wheel drive system on the road. I think it's a really capable vehicle, and I think a lot of people would choose this one. Well, they do choose it. I mean, the RAV4 is, you know, the most popular, like compact SUV, that kind of thing. But in this particular one, the TRD, it looks pretty cool. The seats are really nice and has a decent height off the ground to where it's easy to get in and out of. Driving it, you know, it could be, there could be improvements, you know, just for my preferences anyway. But other than that, I mean, it's fine. It's a nice, easy to drive vehicle. You don't have to really think about it. You do have some decent acceleration. The cruise control system works fine. As far as the roominess, I mean, unless you're having a bunch of people in the vehicle all the time, then you probably need like a minivan or something. So, you know, for the size of this vehicle and just kind of going around doing errands, you have plenty of cargo space in the back. You have decent passenger space, and just overall, you know, decent on gas. So 26.7 miles per gallon is what I'm getting, and that's, you know, that's probably skewed down a little bit because I'm filming the car. I'm not actually driving it all of the time like a normal person would. So it's get a little bit better than that. So the fuel economy is decent. You know, handling is stable on the highway. It feels planted. You don't feel, you know, uncomfortable going at highway speeds. It can handle hills okay. I mean, you're going to hear some engine noise for sure on this engine. The engine noise will stand out when you're going up hills or if you're accelerating hard, that kind of thing. But that's basically just the way the RAV4 is on all the trims, basically. thank you for watching, and I'll have some more information in the description, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you.